So now to that ABC News exclusive we've promised. The New Yorker who barely escaped death in the subway, now sharing his story.
If you saw this, you'll never forget it. He was pushed onto the tracks right in front of the train as it was coming in. It was chilling. It took place on New Year's Eve, but not at night. It was in the afternoon, Mike.
Yes, in the middle of the day, and ABC's Eva Pilgrim sat down with a survivor of what truly was a nightmare. And as you will see and hear, he remains resilient as he continues to recover.
I just thought, I've been pushed and I'm going to die.
In a split second, Joe Linsky's life changed forever. You can see Joe standing on the platform as the train approaches. That's when a man in a dark jacket walks by and suddenly turns, pushing Joe into the path of that oncoming train.
And the next thing I know, I was flying through the air and I saw the two lights of the train in my face and I could make out the shape of the conductor, and then I crashed into the tracks and I smacked my head open on the ground.
At the point that you're laying on the tracks, do you realize that the train's coming?
It happened in a flash. When I was midair, I knew that I had been pushed.
While he survived the initial push, the 45-year-old knew he wasn't out of danger.
The third rail, explain it for people who aren't New Yorkers. Why is that so dangerous?
So there's a third rail that runs along the entirety of the MTA system. It's the electrified rail. If you touch it at all, you will die immediately. You cannot move. Don't kick your feet. Don't struggle. You will get electrocuted. You will die.
So you're screaming for help.
I am. A woman did start responding to me about 90 seconds in, and she tried to keep me calm.
Joe says after about 4 minutes, he could hear the sirens coming.
Be advised, I do have a male on the tracks at that same location. He pushed the male. So the male's under the train right now.
4 minutes is an eternity under a train.
It sure felt like it. As the sirens were approaching, I closed my eyes, because then I guess I felt kind of safe that help had arrived. And they dragged me a few feet to the opening between the two subway cars, and they told me to raise my hands above my head, and two firefighters on the platform pulled me up onto the platform, and I heard my ribs crack. It was unbelievably painful.
Joe had a fractured skull, 4 broken ribs, and a ruptured spleen. But to everyone's amazement, Joe had survived. He's alive!
I can't thank all of them enough, and especially John and Jonathan for getting me out from underneath that one train.
When you were pulled off that track, you asked about one thing.
My dog Leo, he's 16, he's a dachshund, he's a rescue. So I looked at the firefighters and I said, I know I'm really, really hurt. I'm hurt really bad, but you need to help me get to my dog.
He spent 7 days in the hospital, 5 in ICU.
The nursing staff there and the care team there was amazing, truly amazing.
Police eventually arresting 23-year-old Kamel Hawkins for pushing Joe onto the tracks. He's been indicted on multiple charges, including attempted murder, pleading not guilty.
Anything you would say to that person?
I'm choosing not to focus on the anger, resentment, or negativity. He's 23. I don't know much about him. I'm focusing on healing, recovering, getting myself back to my life.
These sneakers, the shoes he was wearing that day, a reminder of what happened and what he's overcome.
These are my pink Air Force Ones. I was going to a Wicked-themed New Year's Eve party. I think I'm gonna put them in a glass box of some sort.
Has this changed anything for you?
My whole life has changed. Yes, it's a powerful reminder that this can all be taken away from you at any moment, and you have to keep going. Life is too short, and I'm gonna keep going. Absolutely.
Wow. Joining us now is ABC's Eva Pilgrim. We were talking about this, just how positive he seems and just how forward-thinking he is. But you were in the room with him. What struck you? Maybe something that you couldn't include in the story. What struck you as you were having this conversation with him?
I mean, he is just innately a very positive person.
Yeah.
He doesn't want this to stop him. Like, he's fully planning on playing tennis in April for his tennis league.
Wow.
And he is, let's be clear, not ready yet. He is a long road to recovery, but he's going to get there, and he is determined, and he knows that the only way to do it is if he's positive.
Yeah.
So he's waking up every morning, he's telling himself to be positive. The other thing I can't stop thinking about is how he said he was screaming as he was laying under that train. but he was calm. How many of us could be calm after we'd been pushed onto the subway tracks?
Yeah.
Laying underneath a train, knowing that we were just so close to possibly being electrocuted, but it was because he was calm that he didn't die. He could have, if he moved, he could have been electrocuted. He was so close.
It's incredibly striking to me, this story, because you see his disposition all throughout it, that calm demeanor, even in the face, the throes of death, potentially. Is there anything, when he recounts that day, though, is there anything that he would change about his movements?
Y'all, I asked him this, we talked about this. It was the middle of the day.
Yes.
It was just after lunch with his friends. He was in Chelsea. He was at 18th Street. This was not a subway stop. He did everything that you're supposed to do. He heard the train was coming. He starts moving more quickly down the stairs to make the train. There was no one there. So there was not even a reason to be concerned. It happened so quickly. There was nothing that he could have done differently that would have stopped this from happening to him. And that, to me, is what makes this particular incident so scary.
Yeah, because even in the video, you see them jump the turnstiles, and his back is to them. Now, you mentioned he's not ready, so I don't know the full extent of his injuries. I guess there's some head and some...
He definitely has a concussion. I mean, you couldn't see it in the interview, but because his hair has grown back, but there is a pretty substantial gash on the side of his head where he cracked his head open on the rails. He's got broken ribs, a ruptured spleen. I mean, he's walking, which he's really grateful for, but, you know, he's not ready to play tennis.
Now, we know NYPD officers assisted there. I don't know if it's because of the new push to put police officers on trains and on platforms, but in your story, I believe you said they just got their training.
The firefighters from that firehouse the day before this happened had done a drill about how to rescue someone if they've been pushed onto the tracks. So it was all very fresh in their minds. He is desperate to meet them, and I think that's going to happen soon. Because he wants to thank the heroes who, you know, he says saved his life.
Nice work, Eva.
Pilgrim, what an interview.
Good to see you.
Yeah,
what an inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming over.
Of course.
We should do this more often. I like that. Thank you, Eva.